And I remember I used to walk back into my own dressing room after I got I just didn't, I felt, oh my, this is like massively overwhelming.
Welcome to the Big D Speaks. On this particular episode, shall we say, we are going to be looking at a clip of Gary Neville talking about when he first broke into the Manchester United first team and his initial feelings walking into the first team dressing room as a 18-year-old, I think he was at the time. Anyway, I'm going to give my thoughts at the end of this particular clip. Stick around for that. If you like this video, please like, share and subscribe for more content. Anyway, here's Gary.
In the first team dressing room, I remember the first 6 months. You got to remember the dressing room I went into had Pallister, Bruce, Cantona, Hughes, Ince, Roy, all them. Honestly, I used to go in there, get changed. There was me, Scholesy and Butty got in first. Bex was delayed. Bex was a year later than us. Giggsy was already in there. And I remember I used to walk back into my own dressing room after I got I just didn't, I felt, oh my, this is like massively overwhelming in terms of just the presence of people. Because a lot of these people, Mark Hughes, by the way, Mark Hughes was my hero. Brian Robson was like still at the club when I made my Premier League debut. See, these people.
And it was tiny, the dressing room, was it?
Small.
You're literally on top of it.
I'm glad you said dressing room.
And now I'm even now getting goosebumps thinking about how me in there thinking, actually, it scares me to death this a little bit. Do you know what I mean? Even though in the youth team in reserves, I was captain. So I go back into the actual youth team dressing room. I get changed, go back into the youth team dressing room. Bex would be in there, Phil would be in there, the other lads would be in there. That had, Ben Thornley, Keith Gillespie, them sort of lads. I felt like I didn't belong.
So you had the imposter syndrome. You didn't believe you should be in there.
Wow.
And did that
also
not
feel a
ever
bit
transfer onto the pitch in those first sort of 5 or 10 games?
No, I don't think it did. I felt like I was on trial for the first probably like 25, 30 games. I always remember in the first season, it was the year we lost the league to Blackburn, and that's when I played, I think, 25 games, 30 games, something like that. And what he would do, he'd pop me in, get me out. Pop me in, get me out. He'd play Sharpie at left back, or he'd play Roy at right back in, say, Liverpool away or something like that. And it got to a semi-final of the FA Cup against Villa Park against Crystal Palace. And he come and saw me like in the week. He said, right, I'm putting you in. And I thought, I felt like it was a moment, you know what I mean? And I've never been as nervous. He put Bex in as well, both of us together for the first time, I think, in terms of a big game. I think it's the first big game we played together. I think he was more nervous than me. And I remember thinking, almost like this is the sort of like a massive test.
Right.
So you felt everything was a test. You felt like every day was a bit of a test until you got comfortable and it was like 25, 26. You know, you win the treble at 24. Out of that, you then think, right, okay, I'm established now. I've played 5 years. But it took that first 3 or 4 years of like, it felt like it was I don't know, it was like a test, a massive exam.
It's interesting that because when no one would look back at your career and think about that game, but you all have games, don't you, when you play and you go into it. And most people, even if I'm a Man United fan, because you're playing Palace, you'd expect to win. They're not saying, oh my God, Gary Neville's at right back. But for you, your family, you'd have passed that message on to your dad. He'd been there with his mates thinking, oh my God, I hope everything goes all right.
I'd been to watch United in the 83 and 85 FA Cup semi-finals at Villa Park. So for me to play in that game, like you talk about the FA Cup, how the history of it and the sort of magnitude of it, it was massive. So for us to play in the semi-final at Villa Park was like, that was monumental. That was like huge, and it was a massive big step that in terms of coming through. Playing against John Solarco. John Solarco was left winger, a good winger, you know what I mean? And I did quite well in the first game. We actually drew, I think, 3-3.
Yeah. Was it 2-2?
2-2 or 3-3. It was like a tough game. We could have gone out. And then obviously second game, we get through. That's the one that you got sent off in. But we won the game. And then you think, right, OK. And then where I felt I really belonged was when he picked me at Wembley in the final. To be fair, I played first half at right back. And then I don't know who went off at half time.
Steve Bruce
went off at half time. I played centre back second half.
Well, you went right back?
Did I? All right.
Yeah, I went centre back second half. So
That's quite a big change as well, isn't it? In a final.
And so that game I played.
Everton 1-0.
I've only got in the team.
Sure, you went right back. Did Nicky Buck?
Nicky Buck came on, yeah.
I don't remember going right back.
Wow, Gary Neville. Yeah, I remember around that time when Gary Neville first broke into the team. He was replacing Paul Parker and David May because David May was bought from Blackburn for some decent money at the time, and he used to play at right back a lot. But David May wasn't really a right back; he was more of a centre back. So obviously Gary got promotion from the youth team, and I always remember Gary Neville being very, very consistent. And no one seemed to get past him. He didn't do anything flashy or anything like that. He was just really, really, really good at everything that you needed to be good at to be a right back, if that makes sense. He was very, very steady. Don't remember him making too many major mistakes or anything like that throughout his career, really. And maybe towards the end when he was past it. But yeah, Gary Neville is such an underrated defender. You get 50 million for Gary Neville in today's market, no problem at all. He could attack down the right. He was a good crosser of the ball. He was a phenomenal tackler. He was incredibly disciplined. He was very intelligent. Gary Neville, he's deserved all the success that he's achieved on that pitch. But can you imagine that? An 18-year-old walking into a dressing room with players like Mark Hughes, Eric Cantona in his prime, Brian Robson, Paul Ince, Peter Schmeichel, Gary Pallister, Steve Bruce, Dennis Irwin. Wow, that must have been so intimidating for him at the time. And then, I mean, you try and think about, what was I doing when I was 18, 19? I couldn't even get into my local amateur team, let alone Man United. And he's this young lad, 18, 19, walking into a dressing room with world-class players. And that was a really good team at the time as well, that United 94 side. He could have achieved more had it not been for the 3 foreigners rule. But yeah, Gary Neville, I mean, as a player, I don't think he gets the credit that he deserves. Very, very underrated. Anyway, what do you guys think? Was Gary Neville overrated or underrated? Tell us your thoughts in the comments section.